thought you might. Yeah, go right ahead. So I'm going to talk about myself because I've been in your shoes. I mean, I was laid off. I was, I was fired. I changed jobs 5 times in between on my own, because there was no greater challenge. And so I tell my boss, hey, if nothing else is coming up, no acquisition or challenge, I need to leave. I'd leave the successor. But I'm going to talk also about, your personal feelings here, because the reality is, as we talk about these things, okay, I did my introduction earlier. I don't think there's anything that I haven't covered. The only thing is, I'm a process guy and a numbers guy because I was in supply chain. So I constantly update my processes based on what's working in today's marketplace. Networking's changed 6 times during COVID. There's been monumental shifts on what works. And now that people are going back to work, it's interesting going back to the office. People are really nervous about that. Companies are forcing people to go back. Actually, that's impacting, that nervousness, that feeling of unease is actually affecting how you network. And we'll talk about that. But I mean, the reality here is, I'm just going to briefly talk about this because it's important. As you think about what makes you successful in your job search, the first thing is right between your ears, right? Are you resilient? Are you self-aware? Do you learn from your interactions? Do you learn where you made mistakes in interviews, where else it did really well? You learn from you're talking to people and gathering information. Are you asking good questions? Are you listening? I mean, I think Gordon Gray said, God gave us one mouth and 2 ears, so you should listen twice as much as you talk. I think Jim Lawrence, that's correct, right? That's one of those Gordonisms.
I believe so.
Yep. But the reality is, you have to be resilient. No, you can hear a lot of no's. That's just part of the process. It's business. It's not personal. When someone tells you they didn't select you, they had they did the best with the information they had. And you know what? We don't like 19% of people we meet, 1 out of 5. So if there's 15 of us on the call, if there's 16 people, statistically, there'd be 3 people I don't like just looking at them. I mean, that's our history. You might look like, they may not like you, or you may look like their ex-wife or the uncle they hated, whatever, right? You just don't know. Or the bot or the president of the company said, hire my nephew, right? And they still post a job and interview. One bad thing that HR is doing, which I hate, is instead of promoting someone, they're looking outside, they post it. But we're gonna see if we have an outside candidate that's better than our internal promotion, right? You don't know, they might be people already slotted, right? But the reality is, you gotta be resilient, and you have to be positive through your job search. You plan for the best, and I have a mantra that says, I will not let outside people or events influence my happiness and what I do on a daily basis. I'm not going to let anyone and anything influence how I look at the world and what I do on a daily basis. And my second mantra is, everything I touch turns to gold. I mean, I don't believe, that, not literally, but I believe every interaction could lead to something better. And recently, I got contacted by a recruiter I helped 5 years ago. He remembered me, and one of his clients has a big opportunity in supply chain for coaching. So they reached out to me. This guy reached out to me. I didn't even remember him. I had to go look at his LinkedIn, and they started to talk about, oh yeah, I have an opportunity for a big piece of business from someone I helped twice 5 years ago. And I met that guy just through networking. It can happen. But the second thing is, what's your strategy? What are the positions you're looking for? And also within that, geography. Are you willing to travel? Are you going to work remote? What kind of compensation? What kind of responsibilities? What's your strategy? What positions do you want? But then you have to have a work plan. I did a recent webinar on this, but you have to have a plan for your work. I mean, the job search is work. So you plan the work the plan. And then the work habits, you procrastinate. When's your best time for doing brain work? If it's first thing in the morning, then schedule your interviews in the morning. And also the things you need to do, like networking, where you need to have brain power, right? Do it at that time. Do the needless tasks. I mean, the mundane tasks at your off times. And if you're an afternoon person, great, reverse that. And, how do you stop procrastinating? Have a plan. And then the tools are resume, LinkedIn, how to network. The reality is, people have gotten jobs because they did an informational interview, and it turned into an interview, and they never had a resume. They got interviewed. And Michael Melander, Jim might remember him from 3 or 4 years ago at LongSpeakNet. He got a job. He didn't even have a resume. They interviewed him off his LinkedIn, and at the end, HR came back sheepishly and said, "Hey, we don't have a resume. Can you send us one?" And he hadn't even created his resume. So it was interesting, but he learned, because I coached him, he learned that how something can turn into a interview from just an informational meeting. And he found that job by contacting one of the guys he worked with 19 years prior and just said, "Hey," he put on email on a LinkedIn message to a bunch of people and say, "Hey, here's what I'm looking for. I'm in the market. If you hear anything, let me know." This guy he worked with, hardly even knew him, actually reached out and said, "Hey, our company's got a position." And it works, right? You have to be vulnerable. You don't care. People worry that people know what you're doing or you're out of work. You're just in between gigs, right? But people worry about that. You got to tell people what you're doing and what you're looking for. Now, this is me, not really, but our minds trick us. So during COVID, I put on a lot of weight. I'm working from home. I have all sorts of issues. So I literally put on 40 pounds. And so I was looking in the mirror, still thinking I was that svelte guy I was, 15 years ago. But the reality is my brain was telling me that, but the scale was telling me otherwise. I'm pleased to say I've lost 32 pounds since Thanksgiving by working with a dietitian, eating healthy, and doing some exercise. And now that got derailed during my stay in the hospital. But really think about what your brain's telling you. So what does your brain tell you about networking?
Hey, Mark,
Yes.
we do have one request that you slow down a little bit.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Information is so good.
Yep.
We want
Yep.
to be able to absorb it.
Yeah, and I did put in the chat, I did put the handouts. And so good, I'll slow down. But our brain tells us, hey, I don't want to be rejected. I'll reach out to someone and they'll say no. Or I schedule a meeting and I look stupid. Does anyone worry besides me worry about looking stupid? I used to worry about looking stupid. The reality is I've done thousands of informational interviews or informational meetings. No one's ever told me I was stupid. Jim Lawrence, I know you. Has anyone told you you're stupid?
No,
Are you wasting their time?
nope.
Yep. So that first worry is not real. Now you say, well, maybe I'll say something stupid. The issue is most people won't do this, and it's the number one thing you should do in your job search. Most people aren't courageous, right? Now you could say that didn't go very well, right, afterwards, but the reality is most people won't take, it's called activation energy. They won't do this. And the number one thing you can do in your job search is talk to people, right? You can learn about the company that you want to work there. You can learn about the industry if you're interested. You can learn about, maybe reach out to someone you're pivoting. Hey, they're doing customer success management. I'm interested in that. You set up meetings with a couple, 3 people to talk to them and really learn what it is, right? But the thing Jeff Kurtz, who co-leads LPN, and I talk about is error. You're looking for advice, information, and referrals. Now, interestingly enough, I developed this process 30 years ago for my job search, 30 plus years ago. Interestingly enough, there's a great book. I'll hold it up here. It's been the 20-minute networking meeting. The 20-minute networking meeting. Maybe Jimmy could put that in chat, or Don or Trent. The 20-minute networking meeting it's probably the only one out there. This process was 90% the same as my process. When someone recommended the book, I started to get into it. I'm like, wow, I should have wrote this book. I could have made $1 million. The reality is, though, it's almost identical to my process. So it works, right? So I've modified mine slightly to follow the book. So I'm going to talk about, if you get the book, the 20-minute networking meeting, if you get it from the library, it's going to model. I'm modeling what they do, but it was 90% the same as what I've done. They talk about information referrals and evangelists, right? And they're saying, get people to become your fan and be out there as a talent scout, finding opportunities for you. We're going to talk about how you do that, what percentage of people will do it. So as a process guy, when you're setting up a meeting, you ask for 20 minutes. We're taught this as recruiters. People schedule in 30-minute increments. So if you schedule a 20-minute meeting, you're actually going to get 30, right, for that meeting. And so what you're going to do, and we'll talk about how you set up the meeting, but this is how you run the meeting. Okay, you make a great first impression. It's 2 to 3 minutes. I kind of chit chat, get to know each other a little bit. and then you're giving a great overview of who you are. It's a very short elevator pitch, right? It's 1 minute or less. I like them at 45 seconds, but you're giving them an overview of you in less than 1 minute. But then you go into this with 5 key questions to ask that person. And I'm gonna give you the questions. Now, the reality is, when I was a recruiter, we didn't start any discussion without a script. You know, if I'm talking to a hiring manager about it's the first discussion about, I got the contract, I have a first discussion about what they want in the candidate's not just a job description. I had a script, right? I had a script for everything. And the reality is, you don't want to go into any meeting or any interview without a list of questions, without being prepared. Proper preparation keeps you from piss poor performance. I had a boss that said that. The second thing is, you're going to have 5 key questions. Now, the reality is, it may go somewhere and you only get to ask 1, right? Because it may go where you want it to go. And then you have to have an ending, right? And, you know, thanks and wrap up. The fortune is in the follow-up. I think Don said this earlier, something to that effect. You have to follow up. I've had people that I'm helping for the job search, they're asking me to follow up for them. I'm like, no, you're following up. You don't put that on me. Now, I could do a 3-way introduction, but they're asking me to do an activity. I'm like, but you're the job seeker. You control the process. I'm not. You don't put an action item on me as the person you're networking with. It's interesting when people do that, because it's not. It turns people off, right? You're responsible as a job search candidate to do the follow-up. Make sense to everyone? Okay. Now, you've told them that it's only going to be 20 minutes. Most people, when they do informational meetings, I hate using the word interview, informational meeting, because once you use interview, they're assuming they're helping you find a job, right? And that puts the burden on them, which it makes people uncomfortable. You're going to tell them 20 minutes. Now, the reality is, if the conversation is going really well, at 18 minutes, you have a timer on. If I'm networking with Trent, I say, hey, Trent, we're at 18 minutes, we're having a great conversation. Should we continue for a few more minutes, or should we schedule another meeting? And Trent's going to say, he'll know he's got that 10 minutes left. Trent will probably say, hey, Mark, no, I've got a little bit more time. Let's continue. You don't bring it up ever again, because you don't know, Trent may not have a meeting scheduled after that. If it's going well, let it ride. But you've been very respectful because you've asked, right? You don't just take their time. You need to be known as a polite professional that understands people's time is valuable. And let's say it's not going well, right? It's not, the connection's not that great. But 18 minutes, you say, hey, Trent, we're almost at 20 minutes. We're almost at time. And Trent goes, yeah, I really got to get off the phone because I've got get on this video call. Then you jump to the end and thank them for their time. And there might or might not be some good follow-up that comes out of that. But the reality is that you need to control the process, and you need to control how people react to you. And the reality is, most people in their networking, they take up way too much of anyone's time. If you become known as a person that sticks at 20 minutes, it's going to be huge. The differentiation between you and others is huge, right? Now that you can have follow-up calls, right? Everyone tries to get everything in the first call. They're trying to extract maximum value. No, that's not the goal. The goal is to create an impression, someone that will help you and give you some information, and then you can follow up with them again and again and again, right? And the reality is, I just walked through this, and there's an example at the bottom. Is this making sense to everyone? Tell me yes or tell me yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now you got to have an overview of yourself, right? Okay, it's an elevator pitch. Now, if it's Jim, Jim may say, I'm a senior finance leader with 25 years of experience, and I've worked in these types of different industries, blah, blah, blah. And if there's companies like Jim has experience in medical, if he's interviewing with a company that's medical, he's going to highlight, it just went on my mind, Jim. What's the company's name you're at? Lynette was there too. Major Medical. Jim's going to highlight Major Medical if it's medical, right? If it's manufacturing, Jim's going to highlight a different experience. But he'll talk about the types of things he's done, and then you kind of string it all together. Now, Jim, could you give? I'm picking on Jim because I know the answer. Jim can give us a 45-minute. I'm not going to ask him a 45 minute, 1 minute introduction, right? Because Jim's practiced it. And it will
Yep.
sound, you got to practice this stuff, people. And I say, get your phone and turn on the voice recorder and listen to yourself, record it, or on your computer, listen to yourself. Because we write it down, but we don't talk like we write. We write very formally. We don't talk that way, right? We don't talk like we write. And if you listen to yourself, write down what you say, not what you wrote, because you can say it the first time. Practice tip: say it the first time like you have your script. Read it, then flip the script over, wait 30 seconds, and just say it. And then you're going to get what you really. It's going to be different than what you wrote, right? And then write that down. Write it down like you said it. But practice this. You should have a longer pitch, longer elevator pitch, or I call it value proposition pitch, which really talks maybe, a minute to 75 or 90 seconds. You should have a short one, like the 20 second that Don and Trent and John wanted you to do today. Interestingly enough, when someone goes long, I didn't write down the times. Everyone after that goes long. So we had 3 in a row that went long, but then someone reset back to 20 seconds. And so if I ask you for a 20-second introduction as a hiring manager, and you give me 2 minutes, what do I think about you? You don't listen.
You don't follow directions.
You don't follow directions. You don't listen, right? And so, but this is tailor for each discussion. But once you do it once, it's easy to do because you just, if you're talking about certain industries or certain segments, then you just shuffle that deck, right? Like I said, Jim's talking to a manufacturing company, like he did recently, where he talked more about his manufacturing background, which is actually earlier in his career, right? But they didn't care about that. They cared about he had done, cost accounting and new product development support and capital and facilities improvements, et cetera, right? But that was germane to that position because he knew at that company, he needed to talk about that first. So once you've written it once, you're just going to shuffle a little bit. And if you're looking to pivot, you're going to talk about the skill sets that are important when you pivot. Because think about this. Every job has 3 or 4 major responsibilities. They might list 10 on a job description, but there's 3 or 4. And then you have to show your skill set and where it fits, right? So if you're pivoting, if let's say Sharon, who I know is on the call, she's pivoting out of project management into maybe it's a facilities manager position. She's going to talk about how those skills, what are the skills that correspond to the top responsibilities to the job, right? And that's the pivot. So anyone on the call who's pivoting, that's what you need to do. And tailor it to 1 minute and make sure you're not over talking. Because we want to share everything. But you don't want to share everything, right? It's like if you play any sports, you only have so much time on the clock. You have to do clock management, right? You want to have your cell phone in front of you or a timer or something so you can see how much time you're into the discussion. Now whoops. Actually, I realized I have 2 slides in there. Oops. Let's go to the great discussion. That's an error. I'll take it out. The great discussion, right? Okay. Everyone should have LinkedIn. Look at the person you're talking to, right? You want to research the person, look at their background, Google them, Facebook stalk them, whatever you want to do. Just see what their background's like. LinkedIn's the best place to do this. But if someone was interviewing with me, they're going to see I worked at a variety of different companies. I went to Michigan State. I have this volunteer experience. So you want to get an idea where people are from, and maybe there's connection. Maybe we both worked at Black & Decker, right? You can comment on that. Or maybe I published an article on LinkedIn that resonated with you. But research the company and the industry, and don't ever ask a question that you should be able to be done with research. That's my bullet point number 3. If you can do it through research, don't ask the question in the meeting, right? You want to ask questions that help you understand the company and the industry, and if you'd be a fit, right? So that demonstrates you're prepared, you've done research, and in that first call, don't talk about, marital status, kids, et cetera. It's not an interview, but if they bring it up, that's fine. But you're really, let me see a picture in the back, of your family or something. They make a comment. Don't bring it up in that first call. And the first question should start with an observation, and then show an example I just gave an example, like we're both worked at Black & Decker. An observation, I see you have a Six Sigma Green Belt certification. And the related question is, has this been valuable to you, and would you suggest I pursue at this stage of my career? And this was actually from someone who did this. They were 42 years old. They were in quality, and they'd never gotten the Six Sigma certification. And they were talking to a VP of operations that had Six Sigma certification. And he asked that question, and they got into a great discussion. And ultimately, he did get his Six Sigma certification, right? So observation and a related question. And that's easy to do, right? Because you're looking at their background. Of course, if you can't find anything on the person, they don't have a LinkedIn profile, you can't find their Facebook page, or you Google them and there's 100 Tom Joneses, and you don't know which one it is. This is not, you can't do this, right? Now you could ask a question if they are in a certain field, how did they get there? Right? But usually you can find information on just about everyone, unless they're in government, because government doesn't use LinkedIn as much. But then, whoops. Okay, now here, I'm missing a question. Your fourth question, I got to go back to questions 2 and 3. Your fourth question is, you're really looking for them to help you with expanding your network, right? And so you're asking them for referrals. So if Trent's, we're meeting, I'll go back to questions 2 and 3. The slide's missing, I got to pull it up here in a second. If Trent says, hey, Mark, we're having a great discussion. Who do you know in your company or outside your company that'd be interesting for me to talk to, right? And specifically, if you look at my examples, maybe you're an engineer in product development, you ask him about product development, maybe you're talking to the VP of engineering or manufacturing, can you refer to me to someone in the product development department? Or, another example here, used to work at Acme, could you refer me to someone at Acme because they're a target company I'd like to look at? And the other thing is, you can ask for direct referrals, but there are people that are referred to as super connectors. We have these friends and people we know, they just seem to know everyone, right? And that'd be like Valerie Graham, who used to run LPN. I mean, she's a real estate agent, or Jeff Kurtz, real estate agent, knows everyone. You mentioned you have your friend Tom Peters, a super connector in this area. Would it be possible for you to introduce us? Super connectors are just great at introducing to other people. So that's a great question, right? So you're asking about super connectors. I'll go to question 5, and I'll go back and grab to question 2 and 3. But I'm giving you a script to walk through, right? And then you need to ask this of everyone you meet. How can I help you? Now you have the advantage if you're doing networking. The other thing is mean it, listen, right? The thing is, you're networking with a lot of professionals. So use the example at the bottom. I'm networking with a lot of professionals. Who would you like to meet? Or what information can I help you with? So you say you met with a VP of IT, and I said, I'd like to learn more about running running Agile, but instead of Scrum, Kanban. It's a different way to run Agile for software development. What I would do is write that down, and I would find a person to network him into, right? If I don't know anyone, I'm gonna reach out to my LinkedIn network and ask people, hey, do you know someone who's an expert in Agile software development running Kanban, not Scrum, right? And if I can find that person, I will put the 2 of them together, right? Now, if I don't find that person within 2 weeks, I'll let them know I'm looking, right? Hey, I haven't found the right person yet. I just wanted to, in my follow-up, let you know I'm still looking. I mean, the reality is that's the biggest thing that you offer is your network and your ability to connect those people with other people. And you need to mean it, because I've had people, I told them exactly, I have one person, I told them exactly what I wanted, which is a small business marketing expert. And they said they had a friend. I followed up 5 times. Did they ever give it to me? No. And I helped them with their job search networking. How pissed off was I at that person?
More than a little.
More than a little. And if they came back and asked for more information, I'd help them, but I would tell them, hey, buddy, you really messed up here because you did not help me. I was very direct on what I wanted and very happy, but I followed up 5 times, got nothing. Right? That's terrible. And that was the reality of that situation. Now, let's see if I can do this without disconnecting myself. Whoops. Okay. Now, are there any questions as I'm going through this? Okay. Who showing this process, who feels like this way outside the realm of their capabilities, they can never do this? Okay, the
Me.
opposite question, who feels like they could do this?
Actually, yeah. What this is telling me is what I'm doing wrong. I realize that my grasp of boundaries may not have been the best. And I've sometimes, in an attempt to create a connection, gone too far towards the personal, and I can see how that probably creeped people out.
Yep. Christine, your goal is not to go to the personal, because that's not the intention. But we're treating it like it's more personal meeting, right? We're actually behaving in a way it's incongruent with what we're trying to accomplish, which creates, you're right, creates fuzziness, right? They're like, wait a minute, I thought I was helping someone with information about their job search. Okay, so the other two questions I'm not able to pull up right now is because I had too many files open, but I will amend it and I'll send it to everyone who signed up today. And at the end, I'll also have my email address. The other two questions start to get into the meat of, tell me about your company, right? If you're interested in the company, tell me about the growth of the company. Tell me about, you're not asking for any insider tips, but you're not asking for them to divulge information on sales or revenue dollars. But and if they've been there less than 2 years, asking the question, what attracted you here? And do you like it, right? Anyone who's worked, the ninja tip, if you're talking to people who've worked at a company less than 2 years, interviewing you or informational meetings, that will put them back and say, you were in my shoes 2 years ago, you joined this company, what attracted you? That makes them think of you and being in your shoes, right? You do that in interviews because that gives, the sympathy is not the right word, but it creates connectiveness, right? But do that. And so you're asking questions about what you want to learn, gauging information on the industry or the company, right? And then the question 4, how can you help them? So I'm going to go back to the presentation. But I will update the slides. I apologize. I was messing around with it somehow. I deleted those 2 slides. But yeah, it's a process, right? Now you may get into a great discussion. You don't get to those questions because that first question, the second question you ask, they start talking about the company. And I'm a product development engineer. Hey, we really have a lot of product development coming up, especially later this year. We're going to be hiring people, blah, blah, blah. And you're getting a lot of great information. You're not going to cut them off. You're going to go, wait a minute. Okay, I just got 18 minutes of that. You gave me an extra 10 minutes. And then at the end, you're going to ask, how can I help you? You're not going to ask those other questions, right? Because it went where you wanted to go. This is a jump off point, right? So if it starts to go where you want it to go, then you go there, right? You don't stop the process, right? But you ask the question, just like I mentioned. If you got to 18 minutes, you're still going to ask the question. He goes, no, let's continue. And then you move on, you get the information. Then you ask, how can I help you? And you end the meeting. So the 5 questions are there to get you jumped off, right? They're not there to ask every question. An engineer said, I want to ask every question then. I'm like, but that's not your purpose. So the purpose here is to actually ensure that you're getting the information you need to move your job search forward and being polite and professional so they have a high opinion of you. Okay. And then, is everyone seeing my screen again?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Right. And then what you're going to do from here is you're going to conclude, right? A great ending. And practice gratitude, and thank them for the time they invested. Never use the word spent. Don't use that in your thank you letters. Say, I appreciate the time you invested with me today. Investment connotates a return on investment. Words have meaning, right? So thank them for their expertise, their time, their wisdom, their suggestions. Be gracious, but don't don't be groveling, right? Some people can come across as it's too much, but you're thanking them for the time they invested in the information they shared and the willingness to help. People don't hear this enough, and this is a pay it forward to help other people that want to network, right? And so then from there, you end the call. Maybe there's some action items. Maybe I'm supposed to send Trent a couple names because I couldn't pull them up at the top of my head. So you go back to the next step being the great follow-up. And the key is everyone needs to be organized, and most people aren't in their job search. You need to have file folders. If you have paper, you need to have a file structure. You need to keep your notes in places you can recall them. I was coaching someone that they did notebooks. That was fine. We started to number the notebook and the page numbers so he could recall. He'd put, at page 52, here's where my thing is, because he wasted so much time looking for stuff, right? But you need to send information to them, and maybe they ask you for a follow-up phone call. You schedule a second meeting. Maybe they're supposed to send you those 2 contacts, or there's something else they're going to send you. You send the follow-up just like a thank you letter in the action items. Trent might say, hey, Mark, you promised by Friday the 4th to provide those 2 names of people who could be helpful in my industry, right? But you're responsible for all the follow-up. And you also want to keep track of that, because you need to know who you talked to and where it went to. Now, let's say, let me finish this. Okay. And the other thing is you need to track everything. So there's different ways to do it. You can do it on a spreadsheet. You can do it on a Word document. You can just print this and put it in your files. But, the contact name, their business, the date you talked to them, and what, and the steps you're doing. Also, if someone referred you, let them know what happened, right? If Christine referred Trent to me, well, then Trent should, me to Trent, excuse me, let's go there. Then I should be thanking Christine and thanking Trent too, and letting Christine know how it went. And then you start to build a database on this person, right? Because the people that help you the most are the people you want to go back to the most. And the reality is you need to track everything. And that's where people get out of sorts, because they're not keeping track of the people they've talked to and the companies they're looking at. Okay, now one thing to do that's really important. Yep, and you schedule like 20 minutes right after your informational meeting. Schedule your time to do all this, right? Don't wait 2 days, right? You want to do this immediately and get your stuff prepared. Thank you letters should go out within 24 hours, or follow-up emails within 24 hours, right? But then you just rinse and repeat. Important, if Trent gave me 3 names to talk to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start lining up those meetings. I'm going to tell Trent he gave me Sally, Sue, and Mark, and I'm gonna feed back to Trent. Hey, Trent, I've scheduled those 3 meetings. Thank you so much. I'm gonna tell him how each one went. And just a quick note. I learned this as a recruiter because I did this all the time. Interestingly enough, maybe Sally did not give me any information. Excuse me. I'd go back to Trent and say, hey, had a great call with Sally. She couldn't think of anything to help me with immediately, but I really enjoyed talking to her. What I found as a recruiter is people felt bad and they gave you more names about 20% of the time. Because I send that kind of note and then I'd get, hey, Mark, I'm sorry about that. Well, here's 2 other names to talk to. So that letting the people know that referred you, or what happened, actually can pay dividends, because most people don't do this. And if you don't, then the person that referred you, that talked to you, ends up in a black hole. They don't know if you took the action or not. And you want to be seen as a polite professional that takes action. But that will differentiate you between you and 99.5% of people. Just letting the people know that referred you to other people what actually happened. If it turns into an interview, let them know, right? But the reality is that one step will differentiate you from almost everyone else. This is really important. And this is my own observation. Because I'm doing it myself and working with thousands of people. When you're reaching out to people for help, okay, 1%, 0.1%, it's a normal bell-shaped curve. We'll become evangelists. there's something that connects the two of you, and they really like you, and they're going to be out looking, beating the bushes for what you're looking for. I mean, those evangelists, you want to culture them, and they're going to be, 10x in help anyone else. So I'm saying on the right side in the blue, 2.1% absolutely will help unequivocally, but they're not going to be the evangelist, right? They're going to give you all the help you ask for. They're not going to be out there shouting from the rooftops helping you. And 13.6% will help. Let's go to the left-hand side, the red. Same thing on the other side. Hell no. You reach out to them. Maybe they schedule a meeting. Well, they really won't. You're not going to hear back from them, or they're going to tell you, nope, absolutely not. These are people you might have worked with. You're going to be disappointed. People you think you know well. Don't sweat it. Some will, some won't. Some won't. Move on. Some will, some won't. Move on. And then you get 2.1% tell you absolutely not. They will tell you typically, nope, I don't have time for this, right? And then you get 13.6% that ghost you. There's no response at all. The problem is the middle of the curve, which is almost 70%. It's 68.2%. These people can be wishy-washy and potential time wasters. The person you schedule a meeting for, then something suddenly comes up like 20 minutes beforehand, they need to reschedule, and you reschedule it again, or you go through 5 emails to do it, they reschedule again, and then they don't meet with you again. After 2 times of doing that, toss them off your list. But these people can help you. It depends on what's going on in their life, but they vacillate, so if you get someone that schedules meetings and then at the last minute breaks it off more than 2 times, they're a time waster. They're a vampire, right? You need not to focus on them. Now, there may be people that have valid reasons, and they reschedule one and they reschedule second. If they're really, hey, I really apologize. This came up and I really want to meet with you, and then go forward. But after 2 times being rejected, move on. Now, if you can get these people on the phone, they will typically help. So that 38% can be helpful. But if they're ghosting you, or they set up meetings and they don't show up, or they don't reschedule, and a week later, something suddenly came up, move on, right? Because we spend so much time trying to get those people and follow up, find someone else. And that can be the majority of the people. But if you can get those people on the phone that have real intent, then go for it. But if you get 2 rejections with no sincerity of missing that second meeting, move on, because they're going to waste your time infinitely. Does that make sense to everyone? And you really want to find the person on the right that just you connect with, and they're like, hey, let me get some names for you. Let me, send me your resume or a networking brief. I'll share it with my friends and people I know. And when they say that, believe them, and don't downplay it. Oftentimes they're like, oh, that's okay, or hey, no, give them the energy to do it, right? And be very grateful, because very few people will do this. Just like product evangelists, right? That person, if you find them, is gold. You want evangelists. Okay, now, the thing is, because we're going to leave 15 minutes for introductions, the thing is, I didn't include the scripts. This is activation energy. I'll give you the scripts, how to do each. Hey, you're going to do a LinkedIn, a referral, right? I'll give you that script. Hey, I got to reach out to someone cold. I'll give you that script. So email me at mark@jumpuptheladder.com, and I will give you the scripts. I've got those as Word documents. I'll just give them to you. I will also update the presentation with the 2 missing slides and share that with Don, John, and Trent, so they can post it, or email me that, or I can go, if everyone signed up everyone didn't sign up on the list because we got some calling. But questions? Now you see it's a process, and it takes probably an hour of preparation, right? You got to research and rejigger your questions. And then the big thing is people, you start off confident, right? Hey, I've got questions. I know where I'm going to start. And confidence is a key. You don't want to project yourself as, you're monotone, you're nervous. I mean, it's just a conversation, right? It may turn into something bigger, it may not. But the reality is, the more people you talk to, the more opportunities you're going to get, right? And when you have a script and a process, it's so much sweeter than just trying to do it yourself. Questions from the group?
Well, first, let me say, Mark, you're full of information. And this is the first meeting that we've tried to keep it to about an hour and a half, and we're not a hard stop at 10:30. So I'm sorry
Yeah.
if you felt rushed.
Oh, no, that's okay. And like, I think someone just put, it's a business meeting. This is a business meeting. It's business. If they don't meet with you, it's not about you. It's not about you. People make it about themselves. It's not, it's a business meeting, and treat it as such. You're not being personally rejected, get over it.
Well,
But it feels like it, but don't let it, right? You make the decision. You can't, you make the decision of how you react, right? I mean, I almost died in the hospital. I had a fever 104.4. I mean, I was literally, they were worried I was going to have a stroke. I went to tachycardia. My heart rate went to 218. They got the crash cart out and they cut the gown open. I thought, I'm like, I'm just going to flatline. And which I did on the same thing happened to me when I was 22 years old and I died on the operating table. In that moment, I wasn't thinking about material things. I wasn't thinking about, I was thinking about my kids, my grandson, my dad who's still alive, things unaccomplished. And if they were able to get my heart rate back to normal without whatever they're putting in the bag, the IV bag and squeezing it, they had the big old needle ready. But I thought I was going to die. And that fever took a while to come back down. And I do need to go see a heart surgeon to just make sure, a heart specialist next month, make sure. But at that moment, you think about what's important. And, the reality is we're too sensitive about this, right? And I've been through 7 job searches. It's hard, but don't make it any harder. You're all good people, right? And just because there's so many jobs available, HR is not making the process easier. That's the dichotomy, right? You think they'd streamline the process, they're not. So they're still pulling people through a keyhole to get hired, even though they're dying for people. I mean, Sierra Nevada is hiring hundreds of people, Carol, right? Because they won that big contract.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
And they haven't streamlined their process. They're struggling because they want to use the same process they use when they're slow. And so they're, multiple interviews, blah, blah, blah. And, it's ridiculous that they're not looking to streamline the process, and HR isn't. They're making it more difficult.
Well, Mark, this idea about it being a business meeting kind of leads into a question I have, and that is how to get someone to accept doing an informational meeting. And I'm thinking the best way is if you can research that company or organization and come up with some suggestions or questions that might help them. Do you have ideas about how to get an acceptance?
Yeah. I mean, the best way is if you have a LinkedIn contact that can refer you, because that's the easy one. Because you reach out to your contact, that's in the scripts, and say, if you want to meet Jim Lawrence and John knew him, you'd send an email to John. Hey, can you refer me to Jim? Here's the reason why I want to have this referral. But the thing is, that's easy. But if you reach out cold, it may be. Usually it's difficult for you to create value for them with research. So you're actually asking for their time and saying, hey, I see that you're here and I would really like to talk to you. You're honest about your intent. I'd like to talk to you for 20 minutes, right? But it's hard for most people to create value before you talk to someone.
And it may or may not be a company or organization that you actually want a job with. I suppose you could do another place in that same field. Yeah,
because if you get connected to a super connector, it's slightly different. I have a script for that. The super connector, you're just say, I know you're extremely well connected, and if I'm networking with John, and hey, Trent introduced me, and I know he's extremely well connected. So let me tell you what I'm looking for. But the other thing you have to offer a super connector is, hey, I have a couple friends that are super connectors. Can I connect you to them? Super connectors like to connect to other super connectors. So you usually have like a vein of silver you can actually mine with super connectors, because the super connector is kind of an ace in a hole. But it's hard done to try and create some value until you talk to someone. But now when you talk to them, maybe you come up with an idea, right? You're like, hey, now we talked, I think you should talk to this person because you're talking about something in your company and this, you start to make a connection. They've done something similar in their company, different industry, but you might be able to make a connection.
Does anyone else have a question or comment? Hari.
Yeah, I don't have a question, but I just want to say thank you for Mark for all of this really helpful information. This is really helpful. I can't wait to put it into practice. And especially thank you for joining us, given all your circumstances. We're so glad to hear that you're feeling better and hope that you continue to recover.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm cleared to work half a day now. It's a slow recovery. The oxygen now is just to help my lungs recover because I think 15% of my lung capacity, I forget what you call it, that extracts the oxygen out. They were taken out, right? The disease, they either popped or they stopped working.
Yeah, the alveoli.
Yeah, but they heal rather quickly. I've had chest X-rays. And I don't have any. My taste buds are off. I'm still sleeping about 14 hours a day. When the body calls, I just got to go take a nap.
Well, I almost wish I was looking for a job to put this information to
Well,
use.
the thing, Don, you can do though is I do this. Like I met at Roche Pharmaceuticals. I set a goal to meet the chief research officer. No purpose. I just set a hard goal. I want to meet this top person. It took me 2 months working up through that. I told him when I did the invite, hey, I just want to learn about drug development. Can you give me 20 minutes? He actually gave me 40. He goes, and I wasn't from the industry. He goes, I knew enough through coaching some people in bioscience, but he was amazed. He gave me the time. He goes, I've never had anyone just want to do this. He goes, this is amazing. And and I forget how many billion-dollar corporation. I had a couple of people told me I'd never make it. So sometimes I do it as a game. Think of it as a game. And the other thing is have fun. You're meeting people, right? And you never know what can come out of it. You just don't know. Like 5 years ago, I helped that recruiter, no benefit to me. And 5 years later, he said, hey, my client wants to have someone do coaching, personal coaching with an executive that's struggling with a challenge in the marketplace. And the company's going to pay for it. And the referral, he goes, I don't want anything for it. There was no finder's fee or anything. I was amazed. I've had 2 of those in the last 2 months. But I do the same thing that I'm asking you to do, at least 200 times a year.
Does anyone else have a question?
Yeah.
Otherwise, Trent, we'll go into the intros. Full-throated intros with feedback. Trent, are you
Let's
there?
do this because I know a lot of people, so maybe I can give you some ideas.
Yeah.
People to talk to.
All right, I'll just go through the list again. Joanne Thomas, are you still with us? You were one of the iPhone folks. Okay. Christine Jacques, how can we help you?
Hi. Hi, I'm Christine Jacques. As I've said, I have skills in social work. I was most recently doing field instruction for social work students, something I hadn't thought I'd ever do. And I've also been doing customer service. I have a background in libraries, and I'm questioning what I want to do next. The question of being happy at work, liking what I do, I've kind of lost sight of that. And so I think the best help that this group or anybody I talk to can be to me is to ask, Christine, is this who you are? Yeah, you've got bills to pay, but are things really that bad that you have to drop everything and run willy-nilly into your next job? As I say, after 6 months with Anthem, I know now that I don't want to be in for-profit health insurance at all. And it was a miserable time. I don't want to repeat that experience.
Christine, have you done the career exploration workshop with the workforce?
It's been a while, and our meeting on Monday or on Tuesday with Longs Peak Net and Claire from Workforce Boulder County was a real eye-opener for me. I've been sitting down and putting some serious heart time into that.
They've revised it, Christine, so it may be a good time to go back and do it. Reach out to Claire.
I will.
Yeah. And I'll caution people, have a job you enjoy, but you don't have to find the job that's your true passion. You love it more than anything else, right? You want to enjoy your work, right? But you live your life outside work. And there's so much right. You got to find your passion job and do exactly that. I disagree with that, because you might be the best cheap bottle washer out there, but you can't make enough money washing bottles, right? So you got to be careful about making your work your passion, because
Yeah.
it can be, you want to really enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, but you don't, trying to find that work that is your extreme passion and that perfect company or organization to do it in, that can be a recipe for failure.
And Mark, I have to echo that, but most recently during my customer service work from home, ideal situations, ideal setup for me, I found myself dreading going to work every day.
Mhm.
And I found myself saying, I don't care. I don't give a rat's about
Mhm.
this. And that's dangerous. That's not good. That's not going to help me.
No, it's unhealthy for you.
Yeah.
If Sunday night you're getting that feeling of dread, you don't want to go into work on Monday. And I think we've all been there, because I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reality is, if that's where you're at, you got to leave. You got to do something different. My question for you, just real quick, Christine. I mean, I've heard great things about Kaiser, relative to inside, the camaraderie and the culture. Was it the healthcare industry, or was it Anthem that was the problem?
I think it was for-profit insurance. Insurance, I think, is unnecessarily complex.
Mhm.
And the
By
systems
design.
that Anthem was using, it may not be any better anyplace
Mhm.
else. So I am concerned about putting it all on Anthem. They're definitely getting the love. People love them. They're kind to their people. And maybe, working from home isn't helpful to me.
Well, but you could talk to people at Kaiser and UC Health, set up some informational meetings and ask them about it. And if it's the same thing, then crossbone it, get out. Don't look at that industry.
Maybe. It merits some thinking. Anyway, that's who I am. That's where I am right now. Let me know how I can help you.
Okay. Thank you, Christine. Hari, good morning. How can we help you?
Good morning. I'll keep it brief. I'm actually really eager to put this into practice. So some of the companies that I'm looking into getting some informational interviews or informational meetings at are Coforma, CU Boulder, Vermilion, Walden Hyde, Moxie Sozo, and Studio Signorella. So if anyone knows it, and these are also in the sign-in sheet, if anyone knows anyone has a contact in there, that'd be amazing. So thank you so much.
Okay. Does anyone have any feedback for Hari? Okay. Well, if you do, after the fact, yeah, again, Hari put that information in the sign-up sheet. Please reach out to her after the fact. Brian Rudinger, again, welcome. And how can we help you? And this is a general comment, as Hari was wise to point out, if anyone has target companies, please mention those in your intros, because that way people know exactly how they might be of benefit to you. So, but anyway, Brian, how can we be of use to you today?
Yeah, so my name is Brian Riedinger. I will be graduating in May with my doctorate in psychology. I also have a minor in quantitative psychology and a minor in data analytics. So broadly, I'm looking for user experience research roles and data analysis roles in the Boulder, Denver area, broadly within the fintech industry, or whether that's med tech or health tech, but broadly looking in those directions.
Both Google and Amazon have they put in they've been building out their infrastructure here locally for that.
Okay.
So I don't know if anyone knows anyone at Google or Amazon, but they're hiring in the area.
Okay, great. I'll look into those.
Yeah, I'll go through. The UX side. There's someone that came through BoulderNet last year in LPI, and I'll have to find his name because he went somewhere really interesting. I'll find his name, Brian. Did you sign into the
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. I can't think of his name. I can see his face, but he's in the world you want to be in.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So then I put my email there. If you haven't heard from me by Monday, send me an email and say, hey, Mark, you're gonna get me some names in the, because I'm not infallible. I'm writing it down, but right now I do have a little bit of COVID brain. So
No worries. Thank you.
Okay.
what? Real quick question. When are you moving?
Well, I hope to be moving sometime in May. So like early May, like if I can find, I have a partner who is already up there and, she might have a place like picked out and then I can move in. And so, yeah.
Okay.
End
So
of May
everyone-
start or start of June, I guess.
Gotcha. So everyone on the call should go to the sign-in sheet and connect to everyone else, and especially you, Brian, because you get more connections in the area. And also for informational meetings, you can practice on each other.
Connect on LinkedIn, yeah.
Yeah, connect on LinkedIn, and just say you met at the BoulderNet meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
Beautiful. Does anyone else have thoughts for Brian? Okay, beautiful. Linda Meserve, good morning, and how can we be of assistance to you? Is Linda still with us?
I think Linda dropped off, Trent.
Yeah, she
Okay.
had drop off.
Okay, Mary Hikes, are you still with us? Oh, there you are.
Oh, yes. Hi.
All right. Good morning,
Okay,
and how can we
so-
help you?
Okay, so last time I was trying to refine what I'm looking for, so I can only come up with this for now, but hopefully it'll give you an idea. Okay, so my name is Mary Hikes. I have 24 years of real estate experience as a salesperson, broker, and business owner. I have successfully hired brand new salespeople and coached them to succeed in the career of real estate. With that experience now, I would like to be a successful salesperson or customer service representative in your company. My name is Mary Hikes. I wrote it down.
Okay, so what kind of help are you looking for? in this
I'm
group?
looking for hopefully customer service, remote type of work. And, I'm certainly not going to go out there. I don't want to put this the way. I'm not going to go out there. And I used to say in the old days and kill. Okay. I'm going to go out there and be more refined, knowledgeable, skillful, I have so much experience that it just I feel like, I don't know until I see it. I don't know. How can you guys help me? You've been helping me as I meet up with this group. I refine myself each and every time. I've got a whole crate full of stuff that has to do with job search. And every week I keep sorting through it and throwing out what I don't need and what I want to keep.
Have you been able to attend any of the workforce center?
Yes, I did all that. I got additional skills as a career counselor, but I don't want to do that. I was working for a year with, and I did get paid. I was working for a year for them
Right.
as a career counselor for veterans. And, there's just so much about people. I don't want to help any more people.
Right. Yeah, no, I just meant in terms of them being able to help you maybe focus, funnel down to a
Yeah.
focus on, so you
I
can
don't know.
target.
I'm tired of people's problems.
Right.
That's what I've been dealing with all my life. And I know it's difficult to avoid because, people have problems.
Right. Yeah.
And
but
I'm
for us-
really good at fixing it. I am super good at fixing problems. And
Right.
I'm trying to just fix my 4 adult children's problems right now. And that's it. And they're all doing well. Thank God.
For us to help you, we need, I think for us to help you, I think we just need a little more specificity as to, how
What
to
do you
help
want?
Yeah.
What do you want? You and
Yeah,
I
What
are
do
on
I
the
want?
same
That's a
journey.
good question, Christine. When I
Yeah.
see it, no. I really want to just like work if I really had a choice, I would like now to work from home remotely and really narrow down my basic skills and be more helpful to whatever company that needs my skills.
Okay, well, maybe if I can offer an action item, maybe for next time, like if you could come next time with like some target companies or target industries, right? Then maybe we can crowdsource if anyone in the meeting has some links into those companies that maybe we could offer.
Let
But
me ask you this now. I've been trying to think like, okay, I really like, for example, this product. I can sell this product that I really like. What would you say if I go to the company and look for jobs
Yeah, I think
in
that's,
regards to that product?
yeah,
how does
or do it, I mean, as Mark described in, his presentation is,
Right.
do an informational meeting in the company that creates and sells that, markets that product, right? 'Cause
Right,
if
that's
you're
why I
not-
like that.
If you're passionate about that product, right, then maybe you should, you mentioned that you're good at sales, right? If you're passionate about the product, my guess is that you'd be effective at selling that product.
Yeah, I can
Potentially,
sell, when I get into it, I can sell anything to anyone. I
Yeah.
sold the house to a homeless person that was living in their car and had $10,000 and a simple job.
Right.
So
maybe
yeah, I
consider that.
mean, I can do that. I can sell
Okay.
if I believe in it. I have to believe in it.
Right. So maybe explore that.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you,
Yeah, you're
Trent.
welcome. You're very welcome. Jim Lawrence, good morning, and how can we help you?
Hello again, Trent. It's nice to see you've gone from Dead Horse Point to a river in China, it looks like. I'd be anxious to see your next backdrop. First of all, well, I'm a senior corporate finance professional looking for some roles in that area. I want to say thanks to Mark. It was a lot of really nice information. I think I believe it's recorded. I don't know if that's available to people to go back to, but there was just so much in there. I think it's a little like Tyler Perry Medea movie where just there's so much coming so fast. So